So tuning boxes, we've got two types of tuning boxes. We've got rail pressure versus injector control. The vast majority of diesel tuning boxes will be controlling, altering rail pressure, and there are a few out there. Steinbauer is the one that comes to mind, which controls the injector. So like I said, two types of tuning box, but most adjust fuel pressure. So rail pressure tuning boxes or tuning, what are the pluses and minuses? The pluses are that you're doing the same thing that the car manufacturers do. When the car manufacturer wants to increase the amount of fuel going into the engine, it increases fuel rail pressure, as we saw in the table we were just looking at. The negatives of this, potentially you can be limited by the fuel injector size. There is a maximum limit that you can put. You can't put any pressure you want into the fuel rail. There is a limit on that. So when you reach that limit, the amount of fuel going into the engine is then limited by the injector. So potentially the fuel injectors become a limiting factor with fuel when you're tuning the engine with fuel rail pressure. So injector control tuning boxes, the pluses and the minuses. As I said, injector size is less of an issue, but the negatives are we are altering injection timing, the injector timing. We are increasing the duration of the event when the ECU is injecting fuel into the engine. And especially on the more modern the engines, the more precise this is becoming. When the fuel is injected, how long it's injected for. This is a very precise way of controlling noise, controlling emissions, controlling power, fuel economy. It's very precise, the injector timing on a modern diesel turbo engine. So if you're altering that, you're increasing the durations. You're potentially, the engine it's not going to be operating 100% perfect. Which is the best solution? A tuning box that's got injector control or a tuning box that adjusts fuel rail pressure? It depends what issue you're having when you whack up the setting on your tuning box. In my experience, most tuning boxes, when you increase the settings, is not the injector. The injector size is not the limiting factor, but it is the MAF signal. The ECU will detect that there is more air going into the engine than it believes is plausible. So you're going to get a check engine light from that, and if it's a real big difference, it's going to put you into limp mode. So the limit on most cars is going to be the MAF signal. So in short, fuel rail pressure, adjusting fuel pressure is going to give you all the available power that's available in the engine. Having said that, if you're having a problem with your car, you've got the maximum setting on your tuning box, you've got zero issues, so the engine potentially can take more power, you're not having black smoke, the EGTs are reasonable, then okay, maybe you need something that controls the injector timing, that can increase the duration to get even more fuel in there. And just going back to the MAF one, assuming that the engine is MAF limited, the mass airflow sensor signal limited, you're still going to bump into that same limit when you're adjusting the injector duration or when you're adjusting the fuel pressure duration. So if you're increasing the injector duration, it's putting in more fuel, you're making more boost, the engine's drawing more air, you're still going to bump into the same limit, the MAF signal, if the engine is MAF signal limited. So if the engine is not having issues with the MAF signal, okay, fair enough, injector tuning, maybe you need to do that. But if the car is MAF sensor signal limited, then I don't see any other reason to go other than fuel pressure signal tuning, because it's also much cheaper and much more straightforward solution.
I'm feeling cool right now, need you to call me again. I'm feeling like this, ain't no need you to